How did a takeover of an empire manage to get swept away entirely from history books? When the Romanovs took over Tartaria and migrated to America, how were they able to create a society that never knew of Tartaria's existence? In order to understand, it's key for us to explore the remnants of power in regard to politics, our origins, and technology. After all, those who are in power politically control the technological power and the historical data that is given to society. In part 1 of our series, we learn that the Romanov dynasty eliminated what was left of Tartaria and conquered much of the Tartarian Empire, including what we know as the US. They not only destroyed almost all Tartarian structures, but the ones they kept were taken over and made into pillars of their newfound empire, the New World Order. This is evident in many Tartarian structures that are now federal courthouses, prisons, libraries, museums, post offices, churches, and federal parks. As we explore the magnitude of this massive takeover, we'll examine the enormous cover-up of technological advancements that had once fueled the Tartarian civilization, and we'll dig even deeper into the origins of America, exposing what might be the biggest cover-up of our time, that Rome, Greece, and Egypt originated in America. This is the Tartarian Empire 2, Remnant Power. Reminder, it's important to remember Anatoly Fomenko's research from part 1 of this series, stating that history prior to 800 AD has been fabricated. He writes that our history has been based on actual events that occurred between 1000 to 1500 AD, meaning anything before that was destroyed, leaving us in the dark of our true origin story. The question then becomes, how do we find out the truth of our origins? The answer lies in remnant truths waiting to be discovered by future generations. The truths dared to be explored in this film. We'll start in the 13th century, when the Vatican, under the influence of the Khazarian Mafia, planted its roots in England. This would be one of the most essential steps in creating the Pyramid of Power, the building blocks of a New World Order. In 1213, King John surrendered the Kingdom of England to the Holy See under the Golden Bull. That means the Vatican took power of England. 2 years later, in 1215, under direct papal authority, King John issued the Magna Carta, Latin for the Great Charter, and established the 1 mile square block called the City of London Corporation as a sovereign entity from England and London. Eventually, the Virginia Company was issued by the British royal family from the City of London Corporation for North American settlements. The Virginia Company of London was a joint stock company chartered by King James I to establish a colony in North America. Keep in mind, natives already had a claim to the land, but that wasn't important to King James. This venture allowed the crown to reap the benefits of colonization: natural resources, new markets for English goods, leverage against the Spanish, all without bearing the cost. Investors, meanwhile, were protected from the catastrophic losses in the event of the project's failure. Remember, this was a risky project. A successful outcome was uncertain. Nevertheless, the company established a settlement at Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. And over the next 18 years, the Crown granted the company 2 new charters, democratizing its governance and reforming its financial model. So what began as an enterprise of investors seeking a dividend was funded a decade later almost exclusively by a public lottery. By 1618, the company had found a way to use its most abundant resource, land, to tempt settlers to pay their own passage from England to the colony, and then, after arrival, to pay the company a fee to use the land. Still, after all this, the Virginia Company and the colony it oversaw struggled to survive. Disease, mismanagement, Indian attacks and factionalism in London all took a toll until in 1623, the Privy Council launched an investigation into the company's finances. A year later, the company's charter was revoked and the Crown assumed direct control of Virginia. Eventually, the Virginia Company was turned into the United States during the Revolutionary War by the Freemasonic Founding Fathers who were serving the Grand Lodge of England. Don't think George Washington was a Freemason? Have a look at his tombstone. We are taught America won the Revolutionary War, but if so, why would the king still be calling the shots? This implies the Founding Fathers of the United States didn't actually free us from the rule of the crown. This brings us to the Treaty of Paris, 1783. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and a treaty was signed in 1783. If the United States defeated England, how is the king still granting rights to America's new settlers, when they were now equal in status because of winning the war? The treaty is more of a permission slip than a demand to be acknowledged as an independent nation. Why would the famous patriots Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and John Jay sign a treaty when they knew it would void any sovereignty gained by the Declaration of Independence and the winning of the Revolutionary War? If the settlers had truly won the Revolutionary War, it wouldn't be necessary for the king to grant them land. It would have been theirs by the king's loss in the war. For them to dictate the terms of the peace treaty shows their position of strength after winning the war, meaning the Americans never won. Think of other wars the US had won, such as when they defeated Japan. Did MacArthur allow Japan to dictate the terms for surrender? No way. All these men did was gain status and privilege granted by the king, and this ensured the compliance and subjection of future unaware generations. Worst of all, they sold out all those who gave their lives and property for the chance to be free. Furthermore, when Cornwallis surrendered to Washington, he surrendered the battle, but not the war.